Alright guys, welcome to our Sphynx 101 video. Today we have 10 tips for you that we've learned over the last, what has it been? 2 months with Rue? 2 lovely months. But they've been pretty crazy. So we wanted to do a quick recap of the things that we've learned that can hopefully help somebody else out there with a Sphynx cat, or maybe provide some knowledge. Alright, so let's take a look at the very first item on our list, vocals. So when we first brought Rue home, she was pretty vocal around the house. We noticed when she was hungry, when she wanted food, or if she just couldn't find you in the house, she would kind of do that meow that cats do when they're looking for their moms. And it works great when their moms are around and they're hungry. You know, usually they call, mom comes by, it's a mobile meal on wheels.
Did you really just say mobile?
I did.
Oh God.
You know, from day one, when we brought her home in the mornings, her eyes would be completely glued shut with a thick layer of crust over them because of her infections. Although we don't reply to Rue when she lets those big meows out, when she lets a little meow like that, we'll talk to her, pet her, just to show her that, hey, we don't want you to stop all communication, especially if you need something.
Tip number 1, vocals. Only acknowledge the vocals that you want to encourage, whether it's the small little meow, and if you don't want any vocals, really try your best not to acknowledge most of them.
And it's going to be tough, and you are going to acknowledge them sometimes. So the next tip that we have for Sphynx cats is her clothing, which kind of brings us to this point. You'll notice we have a Ziploc bag full of what you've probably seen in other videos of her sweaters. And they are quite dirty. I'm going to show you some more footage up close of them, but...
So these are actually just, like, the really colorful ones are children's socks.
From the dollar store.
From the dollar store. We especially wanted to make sure that we weren't wasting hundreds of dollars on, because you can easily do that with pet clothes, let me tell you.
They smell.
Do they?
Yeah.
So they have been in a plastic bag for a little while.
It's true.
So basically, I did that because at the end of the day, we didn't want to spend a lot of money, and this was a great alternative, especially if you're changing them out every 2 to 3 days. And when I say you're changing them out every 2 to 3 days, these, keep in mind, they had to stick on a little bit longer because we couldn't let her without having it during the day. But once she started feeling better and she was off the antibiotics, we were able to just keep it on at night versus all day when it's really nice outside and warm. So these are like, they're especially dirty because they had to be on for 3 full days.
And she has done hikes up mountains, she's gone to the lake, she's done some playground. The thing about these though is that you'll notice, like, when they start to get dirty, when you give her a bath, you won't put it back on her because it feels wrong.
Yeah.
So what we did is we kind of thought about maybe washing these, but they'll just kind of fall apart. So really the dollar store sock solution is great.
They're great, and they are still great. I think we'll still stick around with them.
So when they're growing up, just use a cheap sock or something that you can find because they're gonna change. They get dirty every other day anyway. So don't buy a $180 jacket for your kitten because you're just gonna have to throw it out.
Pretty much.
This brings us to our next point, which is very, very important for these cats. It's amazing how many people, when they first meet her, don't understand how often they need to be bathed. And there's many videos out there on YouTube. There's a lot of people talking about bathing, and it's a lot of work, and it takes a long time. I personally haven't seen that. We bath her probably once a week, and it only takes a few minutes. It's quite easy to do.
For cleaning her ears, I've noticed a couple of different ways of doing it. People shoving like a full cotton ball in their ear and like swishing it around.
I'm sure the moisture in there, I mean, she's not a fan of it, but it adds a little bit of lubricant when you're moving that Q-tip around.
Oh yeah, and please keep in mind too, Sphynx cat ears, they are a breed of its own because they don't have any fur to stop gunk and junk and all that stuff getting into their ears. They are going to get dirty, and they are going to get dirty.
Filthy. Not dirty, filthy.
I don't know if you heard that, but that was her going, yeah!
And a Sphynx cat, a couple of days after you've cleaned her ears, look like a regular house cat who hasn't had its ears cleaned in months, you know? So that's something to keep in mind. People are going to criticize you and say you're not cleaning your cat's ears, even if you go from the vet who literally cleaned her ears with probably 10 Q-tips.
Oh my gosh.
We took her from there to PetSmart, and the woman told us her ears were bad and she must have ear mites. People don't understand the Sphynx breed. It's okay. But that's just something to be aware of. And if you're a person like me who takes such great care of your animals, having someone tell you that you're not doesn't feel good, so you're gonna have to get over that, as I am learning.
Yeah.
I would like to add one more point to bathing. Because they are a Sphynx cat and they are more prone to getting chilled, make sure when you bathe them, have the towel ready there. One thing that we found after pulling her out is put her in the towel and just hold her and just sit there for a couple minutes, and we pet her and calm her down. And just the act of holding them in a towel because they don't have hair dries most of their body off. And then after that, you just have to kind of do touch-ups on the belly and legs. It's way less traumatizing. We tried to dry her the traditional way the first time we bathed her, where you kind of rub the towel on her. And I mean, obviously thinking back on it now, for a cat that's like way too much. That is stimulation overload.
Oh, yeah.
So just holding her, calming her heart rate down, or him, calming their heart rate down while you hold them a little bit in the blanket before drying them, we've found makes a huge difference in the whole wrapping up the post-bath process.
Okay, so the next thing is toys. We have found that from the average that we've been hearing around is 10 minutes of solid hard play per day.
That's not even a warm-up.
That's not even a warm-up, like not even. It's more like a chase an ant and then be like, okay, let's destroy the planet now. But she is, personally, I find she's very high energy. I don't know what you think.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, she's crazy. I've had lots of kittens before, but their metabolism is nuts. They eat a ton of food. She gallops around this house like she's getting paid for it, or she's being chased. We have a lot of toys that she can passively play with.
Yes.
So we don't necessarily have to be interacting with her with a bunch of toys, and those are excellent.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, she loves playing with us. She loves interacting with us with toys. But we hear the little bells or her tunnel or things moving around the house all day. Yeah, she plays with stuff all day. So keep in mind that 10 minutes for a lazy, domesticated house cat might work for some cats, but for others, like when we brought her home, I think the first day she played for about 4 hours straight, and she had 3 serious infections. Her eyes were glued over and she could barely breathe.
She was just probably so excited to be in a new place.
All right, so our next point, sleeping. All right, so one of the things about Sphynx cats and sleeping in general is that she doesn't sleep 20 hours a day like other cats that I've had. She sleeps kind of throughout the night and then has a few naps during the day, but those are basically just to charge her batteries. Like, she doesn't go down for half the day. She goes down for an hour, hour and a half, and then you'll hear her doing marathons around the hallway again. If you're getting a Sphynx, one thing you need to know, she spends a huge chunk of her time, in fact, every morning she has a routine, sleeping right here in my shirt. Which is good if you want to bond with your cat, and it's not so good if your cat has bad gas. Think about it. There's a pocket
You're basically
with a hole under my nose.
You're basically Dutch ovening. Dutch oven?
I'm getting destroyed.
Yeah.
Is what's happening.
It sucks.
It's the worst. All right, so our next point, this brings us to number 6, which is allergies. So there's a lot of information out there on the internet. If you've done a lot of research, you probably have an idea, but Sphynx cats are not hypoallergenic. And I can't stress that enough because it really sucks to see all these cats taken home and then they have to be rehomed or put into a shelter because somebody had some bad information. They thought they were hypoallergenic and it turns out they're not. A few weeks back we went to go see an allergy specialist and we both reacted to the cat it was the worst reaction that we had out of the whole panel of tests on her arm done. So with that said, the thing about her is we find the reactions that we have is very minimal. But we do keep her clean, obviously. We keep her out of our bedroom. She doesn't sleep there. She sleeps right here, as we've discussed. And there's certain things that we do to try and mitigate the issues that you have or that surround allergies and cat allergies. One thing that we found with her is when I pick up most cats, my eyes usually close, they get really watery and super itchy. I have none of that with her. I take a standard over-the-counter allergy pill, a 5 milligram, not even a 10 milligram, daily, and I don't react to her. It's very mild. Maiva still has reactions, obviously, but it's nowhere near like it would be with a normal cat. But again, please, they are not hypoallergenic. That's not a thing. I mean, even just a few months ago at a wedding, I pet a Great Dane, and my left eye had closed so bad that multiple people at the wedding were trying to give me all their antihistamines because I couldn't even drive home. It was that bad. My eye had completely closed. With her, on a scale of 1 to 10, I probably don't even register at a 1 most days. Okay, so one of the things that we talked about for allergies is we have given her off-limit rooms, like our bedroom and the guest bedroom. The thing is, with a cat, they're naturally curious, right? When you open a door, and she still does it today, they're gonna try to run in there, especially if they know it's a room that they aren't supposed to be in.
Of course. That's the best part.
So, here's an amazing little tip that we're gonna give you guys. This might even be the best tip in this entire video. We have a very large stand-up air conditioner in our bedroom for the summer to keep the bedroom cold. Well, when we first introduced this funny little monkey to the bedroom, we froze that room out before we let her in there.
We did.
It was probably 16, 17 degrees. And when we opened the door, she would walk in, scream violently, and run out. Like, she wouldn't kind of walk. She used to run and sound like she was offended as she ran away.
On to the next note. We are going to cover food. Food is one of those things where I feel like it's very personalized. We like it simple. We like it quick. Basically, we free graze her. She eats when she wants, how she wants, and how much she wants.
And that might change, guys, but right now, her weight is healthy.
Yeah.
We asked the vet if we should be changing her feeding schedule, and she said absolutely not. She's doing great. And one of the things about a Sphynx that you hear quite often is they need constant access to food all the time, because that's how they create heat. They don't have hair, so they have to eat so that they can create thermal energy and warm themselves up. So if they're cold, they're sitting somewhere and they don't have access to food, it could be one of those things that gives your Sphynx cat a chill, and next thing you know, she has an infection and costs you $900.
We did help supplement her eating the dry food with tons of treats, because we were working a lot on clicker training and stuff like that. So that implies a lot of treats. And so we started off with temptation treats, and I can tell you she loves them. I don't know a cat that doesn't love temptation treats. But the way that the vet explained temptation treats to us, it's the equivalent to our McDonald's. It is fast food junk.
Which is why they love it, which is why she's so motivated to do those tricks, which kind of actually sort of leads to the next point regarding that. We gave her the Temptations treats first, and now when we try to do tricks with the other healthier treats from the vet, she doesn't have that motivation, guys. So that's one of those things. It's like bathing, where if you start them off early, you want to make sure that you try to get them on those healthy treats right away, because if you try to go from McDonald's down to a salad, your cat's not going to want to do tricks for you.
All right, so this brings us to number 8. Wait, why are you had 9 on there? Clicker training. This is definitely my field. I love doing clicker training. I'm getting her to the point now with the target training, which is again the stick. She has to come up, touch her nose to the stick, and that's when she gets the click and she gets her treat. She's actually problem shooting now. Like, if I put it in a position that's kind of hard, she will process her environment and be like, okay, well, if I jump here and jump there, then perhaps I can get there. She'll try it, doesn't work, we can try it a different way. But I always know that she can make it to that position. I don't make it impossible.
One issue that we have had with that, and you're gonna have to keep in mind, We've had guests over now, and they'll be holding a straw, not really paying attention, and she'll come running up and touch her nose to it and go, okay, where's the treat?
And I can tell you the amount of happiness that brings her.
Oh, it's incredible.
I don't think I've ever seen a cat purr so hard when she gets it right. She's like,
she shakes the foundation of our house.
I mean, right now she's already doing come, sit, lay down, and I'm starting give me a paw and high five. On the last thing for the clicker training is that be aware of your clicker. Some animals I've found will actually have a sensitivity to how loud it is. So let's say the one that you purchased at wherever you purchased it, your local pet store, is a super loud click. Maybe do it behind your back so it's not such a loud right in their face. I didn't want that to ever be an issue, so I did it right in her face right from the get-go. But again, I mean, she's fine with it. If she showed signs that she wasn't, I would have altered it. Another great option Curtis suggested was a Snapple lid. It's a lower toned click. But
And
sure
people can typically find a Snapple lid for free laying around. So it's one of those things, you don't have to get fancy, right?
Yeah.
You're really just trying to find a sound that she will understand means, hey, I did that correctly.
Yeah. Right?
All right, guys, so that brings us on to number 9. We're almost there. And this one is walking the Sphynx or your Sphynx on a leash.
I love this one.
We got a little lucky in that Rue is a very explorative cat, so we played into that. We played into her personality traits.
Yes.
So we take her for a walk a lot, and you've seen a lot of video out there, but one thing you'll notice is we're never pulling her on the leash.
Yeah.
Again, it's very important when you don't want to traumatize your cat, like with dropping her in a tub full of water. You want to let them cross that threshold.
Yeah.
So we found with her, just being out there with a leash and letting her smell and check things out and see the neighborhood, she'll naturally go on her own. She'll start to run up our neighborhood, and we just kind of follow her. It's not the same as walking a dog. If you're expecting to be walking, oh, good boy, go to the park and see everything, it might not be like that. It might just be more of like a human on a stick, where you're just kind of along for the ride. But it is important for cats to get out as well and see their neighborhood and smell the territories that have been marked and maybe mark their own territory. It's good for them.
The main things I'm kind of like to focus on with the harness and the leash and everything and walking her was, first of all, is teaching her that the harness is a good thing. So I've actually incorporated clicker training with the leash. So the harness, sorry. And so basically whenever I click the harness into place, that's the same noise as the clicker training. So that's the same treat correspondence. So she knows when she gets the harness put on, girl gets a treat. Like, she's super excited about it.
She also knows she's going outside too at this point.
Right?
So when we put her harness on, she beelines for the door.
She actually knows now, like, okay, if I get the harness on, we're going outside. And I always give her, this is one of those unusual things. Again, it works for us, it may not work for you. We found that giving her that option of, do you want to go outside? So I always pick her up to take her to the door, and then I place her in front of the door and I open the door. And she'll kind of stand there, kind of look and be like, yep, okay, I'm ready to go. And then she just goes. And we've also learned from this whole walking experience is that even though you may be out there for 10 minutes, if the cat has been mentally stimulated enough, she's gonna be out cold for 4 hours. She will find a hole, sleep in it for 4 hours. So walking your cat sounds absolutely ridiculous. When you have a high energy cat, I can tell you sometimes it's amazing.
Well, think about it, guys. When you take your cat outside for a walk, watch your cat, pay attention.
Yeah.
They're looking everywhere. Their mind is going a million miles a minute. And that's where you actually wear your cat out.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you try to physically wear out a Sphynx, it's not going to happen. So that mental stimulus is really what you're trying to get.
Absolutely huge.
Yeah, and remember, guys, when you first take your cat out, doesn't matter what breed it is, if you want to try and get your cat to walk, take them to an area like a park or somewhere that's relatively quiet, where they can watch cars moving at a distance. Let them get used to the cars going by first before you even bring them close to the road. Because with her, when a car comes by, she kind of watches it. She doesn't panic. And that's because we've given her some time where we've desensitized her and let her observe cars, see what they do. She watches the road all day, so she knows kind of what they're doing, and she's more comfortable when they go by. I mean, your cat's never going to be super comfortable when something loud whizzes by them at speed, but you just want to try and remove the edge off that a little bit.
Yeah, just at the beginning, especially at the beginning, just to teach her that they're not a danger to her.
Yeah.
Unless you're really close, of course. But it's just one of those things, when we say a relatively quiet park, you, especially for the very first time, you don't want anybody in it, no humans, no animals. And just let her be her. Let her figure out how she walks, how she does things. Is she skittish? Is she a runner? Is she a freezer? Like, these are great things to learn so that when things do happen, you kind of know what to expect. Not that it's ever going to be consistent, but at least you have an idea of what she's like.
Right, guys, so I'm really excited to talk about number 10, and that's introducing your cat to your home. One thing that we did when we introduced Rue to our house is it started a month before we even brought her home. Some people might rescue an animal, and if you rescue an animal, you don't have a chance to go see them in their environment before you bring them home. In our case, there was no Sphynx kittens around. We wanted a Sphynx kitten because of our allergies, so we actually had to go through a woman. So what we did was we went to her house, and we met Rue, and you can see, I think that's episode 2 on the channel.
2?
I think so, yeah. So we went and we met her and we introduced our scent to Rue, but more importantly,
we brought our own blanket to leave with her at the breeders.
Do you remember when we walked in, we put this blanket on the ground and all of the cats started fighting over who was going to lay on it?
Yep.
So, but the reason why that was really important, guys, is when we brought her home, we brought her home in the blanket that smelled like her family.
Yeah.
And I mean, for her, she adjusted really, really fast to our house, but who's to say that part of that wasn't because we had put in the legwork and got something like a blanket that had some scent on her. So while the home and the space was all new, it wasn't entirely new. There was still some pieces of home that she knew. And I mean, we did put her in, again, now the guest bedroom is off limits to cats, but that was actually her room. When we brought her home, we put her in that one, it's just a small bedroom with a litter box, a kennel with that blanket, and that's it, and some toys.
We didn't even have the mattress, we didn't have the bed, we didn't have anything.
We took the bed out, we took the desk out, everything, and it was her little room. And the reason why we did that, you've heard or you've seen on YouTube, a lot of people talk about introducing your cat to your home one room at a time, starting small and expanding the territory.
We don't have that option, unfortunately. Our house is basically, there's like 3 rooms and then everything else is open. So we had to get her super confident, super comfortable in that little room right away. Like, there was no other option. She had to be safe and secure in that room right off the bat. Otherwise, the rest of the house was going to be this terrifying, massive space.
And you know, they recommend that you spread it out over a few days. But one thing that I want to stress is just pay attention to your cat.
Yeah.
I mean, we could tell after just a couple hours. We opened the door and this house was hers now at that point. She started running through it like, this is my room, this is my room, this is my room, oh, I own this room. It was incredible how well that worked. And again, a lot of that does rely on the personality of your cat. But these little things like bringing a blanket that smells like mom and dad, closing them off into a little room, and just first building their confidence. One of the things we did was we had a little toy, that mouse on a string, and we let her hunt it and get some kills in and get that confidence going. And once she gets that in that little room, you can take that energy and you can open it up into more and more of the house. And well, with us, it was just a matter of a couple hours.
When we say listen and watch your cat, she was sniffing underneath the door before we even introduced to her what the door was.
You could tell she was already thinking like, what's on the other side of that? So, why am I not allowed in here? Another big one was the heartbeat. And what we mean by that is the very first time that we ever held Rue, or especially when we brought her home, we hold her on her chest. They actually sell little toys, kind of like these little bunnies, that actually take a battery and they have a little heartbeat in them, and that's actually to mimic the mum. And so one thing that we found with her, we brought her home, put her on our chest, and she felt that heartbeat, and it calmed her right down. But a big one that we talked about, we want to stress again, is that confirmed kills, we call it. And that was just getting her to pounce and bite and attack these toys. When she does that, she's really playing into her primal instincts, and she's building her confidence.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that was a big deal for her.
Oh yeah.
Alright guys, well that has been the top 10 tips for Sphynx cats that we have. Again, keep in mind, these are not cut and dry rules. A lot of these things you have to pay attention to your cat, and it could rely on their personality or how easy it is for you to have access to toys or the food that we've mentioned and things of that nature. But this has been our video for Sphynx Cats 101, the tips that we've learned so far.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, we've only had Rue a few months, so we will probably be doing an update on this soon, and she's still a kitten, so we're still learning a lot of things every day. Well, thanks for watching, guys. Again, if you liked this content, please give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more of Rue, subscribe, and go check out some of our other videos that we talked about today.
That's right. Thanks,
All right,
guys.
thanks, guys.